Hello everybody, Blackstone is curbing REIT redemptions, so should you be worried? So if you haven't heard about it, this is the news that Reuters reported on the December the 3rd about Blackstone curbing redemptions for the certain REIT that it has. So people are getting quite worried about it, so I thought I should talk about it. So, there were some worries that this really strikes a rhyme to what happened in the global financial crisis, right? So if you don't know, you can Google GFC redemption holds. You can see prior to GFC in 2007 August, the banks started to halt redemptions from the mortgage-related investment funds, and of course after that, a few months later, you have the GFC, really exploded, right? So this is the news snapshot of the news article, and you can go and read it. But I think there are two main points that I want to highlight. The first is that the REITs that we're talking about is actually a non-traded REIT. So it's very different from the REITs that the viewers of this channel should be mostly familiar with. Because most of the REITs that we have are publicly traded REIT, right? Whereas this REIT that was hit by redemption curbs is a non-traded REIT, right? The second thing that should be more highlighted is that there's a monthly limit of 2% for redemptions. This was actually, it's official. It's everybody should know about it. If you're an investor, that for these guys, there's a monthly redemption limit of 2% and a quarterly threshold of 5%, right? So this is very very different from the publicly traded REIT that we are familiar with. So let's talk about the difference. So in our case, the REITs that we invest in is a publicly traded REIT, right? So that means if you want to sell the REIT, it's your problem to find a buyer, right? So typically you go to the exchange, and then let's say you own a Ascendant REIT and you want to sell the REIT. Oh, right now the market is 275 on the bid, right? So if you're happy, you sell. If you're not happy, you don't sell. And there might be a day when you want to sell and there's no bids, right? Or if there's a problem, then if that's a situation, then that's your problem, right? The manager of the REIT is not responsible for finding you a buyer or seller for the REIT, right? Because it's publicly traded. So you find a buyer or seller in the market yourself. But in a non-publicly traded REIT, if you want to sell, the manager will buy from you at a certain bid that they will quote you. The problem is that if the manager buys from you, then he needs to raise cash, right? And to raise cash, then the manager needs to sell the underlying real estate. But it's not really true because typically the manager will hold a certain amount of cash as liquidity. That's why it offers you a 2% redemption quantum, right, on a monthly basis, and certain amount on a quarterly basis, because there's a limit as to how much cash you can hold on its own, right? Because you certainly don't want to hold 50% of your assets as cash, right? That's stupid, right? So, but beyond a certain extent, then the manager will need to sell the underlying real estate, which is illiquid. Because you don't sell a property today and tomorrow you get the cash, right? You put up an expression of interest, after that you get some interest in the bidding, and then finally there's a conclusion, and then you get the settlement, and this stuff takes months, right? So that's the problem with the non-traded REIT, right? It's marketed as semi-liquid in that you can redeem if you want, but the underlying asset is illiquid, right? So that's the problem, right? Illiquidity underlying assets and a semi-liquid, tradable vehicle. So that is the problem. So the question now is, should I be worried about this event? I'm not worried about the fundamentals of REITs in general. I think this is a completely different story. This story is about the people who invested in non-tradable REITs and now are getting problems getting out because everybody is rushing for the exit doors at the same time. What I'm worried about though is that this is showing that the cracks in the financial system are appearing more and more frequently. We've seen that with the Fed raising rates to almost 5% now, it's cracking everywhere, right? Cryptocurrencies have exploded already. Tech stocks have collapsed. REITs in the publicly traded markets have also fallen a lot. And so in the next year, in 2023, what's gonna hit next? In 2022, we've seen the British pensions also got hit already. So I think one candidate is actually private equity, because these guys are really illiquid, right? So if you have a fund which is semi-liquid in nature in terms of redemption, and then you have the underlying asset which is private equity, which is super illiquid, that is also a prime candidate to crack next. So if you don't know what happened for the British pension system, just Google LDI, right, or liability-driven investment strategy. This was what happened earlier in the year when Liz Truss unveiled her mini budget, and cause a little blow up in the sector. So I don't know, like other pension systems in US, Canada, Europe, or Asia gonna blow up next year. I don't know, man. So I think that's the main worry for me next year. So if you follow what happened in 2018, 2019, in 2018 the Fed or dear Chairman Powell, right, hiking rates like crazy, and then in 2019 he was still intending to raise rates, but next thing you know, right, 9 months later, September 19, there's a repo event, and then holding stocks blow up, and then the Fed emergency intervention then emerged, and there was a stealth QE already in September 19. So you can see that 9 months after the peak of the rate hikes, things just started blowing up, right? So I think what's interesting in 2023, and my main thing to watch out for will be what is gonna crack next, especially like 9 months to 1 year after the peak of the rate hikes, which is probably gonna be in December, right? So I think mid next year or late next year will be interesting periods to watch out for, coincided with the traditionally volatile periods in August, September, October. Are things gonna blow up next? And what happens after that? Is the Fed going to QE again or cut rates to zero? I don't know, man. But I think that will be the main thing that we'll be watching for 2023 as we draw to a close in 2022. So good luck going forward.